2003 saw the release of the Force Heretic trilogy by Sean Williams and Shane Dix, the anti-penultimate volumes of the new Jedi Order series. But they weren't quite done with the Star Wars universe and had an idea for a story based on a deleted scene from the third volume of the trilogy, Force Heretic Reunion. The resulting 6-page story was published in May 2004 in Star Wars Insider issue 75. Now, with so many of these short stories in the new Jedi Order series, I had never encountered Or Die Trying before and had absolutely no knowledge of it until I saw an article on Wikipedia. So, a brief summary. Jedi Jaina Solo infiltrates the headquarters of the Onidax droid technologies. They manufactured a human replica droid who betrayed the citizens of Bakura, and Jaina wants to bring them to justice for the Prime Minister's crimes. So first, a timeline disclaimer. Or Die Trying is set in between Force Heretic Refugee and Force Heretic Reunion. Specifically, it seems to be set right before Reunion begins, which makes sense if it was a deleted scene. In the end of Refugee, the Solos are instructed to head to Onidax in the Minos cluster to meet with another member of the Rin network. Or Die Trying gives them another reason to be on Onidax, though, that Jaina is continuing to investigate how and who produced the human replica droid that became Prime Minister Kundertal. Jaina learns of the existence of a company called Onidax Droid Technologies, or ODT. She sneaks onto their compound, where she is met by another human replica droid named Stanton Rendar, which... Okay, I'm going to need to explain some necessary backstory here. At the end of Shadows of the Empire, the multimedia project set in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, the fate of two major characters is left hanging. Guri, Prince Shizor's personal assassin human replica droid, is spared by Luke Skywalker, and presumably she makes it out of his palace before it's destroyed. Meanwhile, Dash Rendar, the Corellian mercenary who's been helping the rebels, presumably is killed on board his ship, the Outrider. It's not confirmed, but it makes it seem as though he's gone. Of course, if you've read the sequel comic, Shadows of the Empire Evolution, you know that both Dash and Guri are alive, and that in particular, Guri has gone to great efforts to remove the assassin part of her programming so that she can try to live a new life. The comic ended with Guri walking into a bar and Dash offering to buy her a drink. So according to Or Die Trying, Dash and Guri then went into business together, creating human replica droids that are based on Guri's technology, but with the added bonus, I guess, of using Siruk Entechment technology to transfer someone's actual spirit or essence into the droid. Dash's older brother Stanton had been killed in an act of sabotage by Prince Shizor before Shadows of the Empire even opened, so this Stanton seems to be an attempt to recreate him in human replica form, but not in the way that Prime Minister Kundertal is, because Stanton was long dead before Dash and Guri even went into business, which does make Jaina's Force sense of him slightly weird. So Jaina confronts Stanton and they talk about how this human replica technology will be great for the future. Except Jaina is not convinced, and then she has to fight some droids, and then Stanton blows up the compound and ODT will have to start over somewhere else. And that's it. That's all there is. When I said this was a 6-page story, actually it's really only 5 pages because the first page is just a full-page illustration. And I do have a few issues with Or Die Trying and how it plays out. Do I think that Dash and Guri would have teamed up together? Yeah, possibly. But do I think Dash would have been concerned with immortality and be doing something like using C-Rook technology to put people's essences in droids? No. The Dash we met in Shadows of the Empire was a mercenary, and he felt like the equivalent of a human jock. Yes, he was upset about his brother dying and his family falling apart, and yes, he was really cut up when the Bothan Y-Wing pilots were killed over Bothaway, but he never struck me as someone being concerned with immortality, and more, he was upset about those deaths because he thought it was a sign that he missed, that he wasn't as good as he said he was. For Dash to go from being a mercenary to being a businessman manufacturing human replica droids using C-Rook technology feels like we're desperately missing an intermediary step in there, because as it stands, I can't see Shadows of the Empire Dash doing any of that. And second, other than tying up some loose ends from Shadows of the Empire, not much happens in this story. If The Apprentice and Elysia were deleted scenes that did flesh out their corresponding stories, I don't think that Or Die Trying is really needed here. This line of investigation, as far as I'm aware, is never explored further, so Or Die Trying feels superfluous in comparison to the other two stories I mentioned. It doesn't feel like a complete story, more like a philosophical exercise or an attempt to weave stuff from Shadows of the Empire and Children of the Jedi and even the Glove of Darth Vader series into the same continuity. So, in short, Or Die Trying is the shortest of these short stories I've read so far. It relies on a bit of background knowledge from Shadows of the Empire that you, as the reader, may or may not have. And it just feels really slight to me because it's this line of questioning that never comes up again and just appears here and then is dropped. But if you're interested in checking it out for yourself, I will put a link to the scanned PDF down in the description box so that you can peruse it at your leisure. So next time, I'm going to be reading the third and final book in the Force Heretic trilogy by Sean Williams and Shane Dix, Force Heretic Reunion.